We are live on Facebook. Welcome, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and it is not always straight talk or something like that. We're going to be playing with the title, and we want to get your feedback. That'll be one of the things happening tonight. But what's especially happening is you get not one, not two, not three, but four amazing relationship coaches, all for the price of none tonight. We've got the wonderful Michael Dyer, one of our favorite guests. And we've got Jessica Osterday, one of the great love coaches in Love Coach Academy. And of course, the one who makes it all happen, my teaching partner, Trish.
Don't let him fool you. He makes it all happen.
And the topic is, at least that we're going to start with, is authenticity in relationships. But because we've got four coaches, and I see a lot of our friends who come on into the Zoom room. So welcome, Deborah, Dia, Grace, Kathy, Kent, Laura, Lou, Anna, Mark, Steve, and anybody watching on Facebook. Welcome. We're going to take your questions. So if you've got relationship questions, Michael, Trish, and Jessica have answers. But to get us kicked off on the topic of authenticity in relationship, here's Trish.
Well, if you're going to start me, you know where this is going.
We're in, Trish. Go for it.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to my brain. Well, I think that how I want to start this is that we live in a particularly codependent society, that we're kind of taught and I mean, we're bombarded with these like toxic relationship messages all the time. I mean, like, have you listened to the radio at all recently? I'm in a secure attachment book group, and it is fascinating because they asked us to find secure relationship songs, and I was like, oh crap. You better believe I'm listening for it now. And what I'm noticing in our society and our culture and the ways that we are sort of taught to behave in relationship is that, that love is sacrifice. It doesn't actually have to be that way. And so in this like codependency, or in this place where we're taught to, not have conflict, or we don't have tools to understand how to work through, healthy ways to work through conflict. And so we start to depress our true, honest, real selves. And so that often creates resentment in the world, in your body. It creates this like, well, I have to do this for my family, or I have to do this, I have to do the dishes because it won't get, like it creates these things that like really build up inside of you and in your partner. And your partner, you and your partner and everybody around you can know, like they know when you're being inauthentic. You can hear it, right? When someone says to you like, how are you doing? And they're obviously not fine. And they're like, oh, I'm fine. Well, that inauthenticity also is a subtle form of gaslighting. You're literally lying about what is actually real and telling someone that it's not, like their intuition is wrong, right? Like, oh, hey, you don't look like, there's something about you that, are you doing all right? Oh, I'm fine. And that starts to really shift the way that we feel about ourselves and how trusting our relationships can be. Because I can't trust Jessica if she's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm like, well, but you have this brow today. Are you all right? She'd be like, yeah. Or if Michael asked me like, hey, you look like something's up. And I'm like, oh no, I'm good. Be like, well, that's not really building trust and honesty. I'm not being authentic or vulnerable with these people. And that's where I would ask myself, if I can't be authentic, or if I feel unsafe to be honest with them, that's where I would ask myself, like, what's there for me? Why can't I do that? And why, like, is this person someone I want to be around? Or am I holding myself back from the love that we both can share, or we all can share? Ding, done.
I really like that. I want to bring this to the table because I think that being authentic, what are the blocks to being authentic? Because it's easy to talk about it, but there are blocks to being authentic. Can anybody tell me, what do you think are the blocks to being authentic, having an authentic connection?
Fear,
There you go. Fear of it. But then, go ahead, keep going, Trish.
fear of rejection, abandonment, fear of being in hurt, pain, suffering.
But then-
Caretaking. Yeah.
Go ahead. What'd you say, Jessica?
Oh, is another one. I would say for more avoidant partners, caretaking and not sharing in order to maintain a sense of space and safety for another person.
Yes. Scott, anything?
Of course, fear is the big one. So I'm going to build on that for a moment, which is looking at, are we more interested in being authentic and real and creating intimacy that way? Or are we wanting to present an image or maintain an image? And I think as we get older, as we mature, unless we're highly narcissistic, we aren't trying to present an image. Most of my friends feel safe to be authentic and vulnerable, but most of my friends are love coaches, right? They've done the work. But I can even, recognize that when I was younger and I was growing up in LA, you can relate to it, Michael. In the entertainment industry, there's a lot of image-oriented stuff. And so definitely in my 20s, I was much more about projecting the image that I thought would get my needs met than I was about being authentic.
That is my life. Growing up, in Tennessee, in Memphis, being abandoned by mother and father. It was, when I would get in a relationship, it was like, I just knew I couldn't show up as me. No, I dare show up as Michael Dyer. Oh no, he has too many problems. So I had to put forth this image that I thought that would get me the approval that I wanted. So a lot of times I found myself in a relationship that wasn't authentic because I wasn't really showing up. The needy me was showing up. So I think even though we ask for people to love us just the way we are, and yet I wasn't showing that part of myself. And so it is work. It is practice, and everything everybody says, fear. And how do we? So as love coaches, and there are people out there who want somebody to love me for who I am. How do you be bold enough to step out there? I'm just going to speak for myself. It's terrifying to step out there because I don't want to be rejected. Like you said, Scott, when I would go into a room to audition, I wanted the job.
Yeah.
I needed the job. Now, because that job represent me being able to pay bills, represent me, paying my rent. The same thing in relationship. When I've been deprived of love, I want that love so bad that I'm willing to be whoever you want me to be, because I want it. And then I look around and find myself in a relationship that I don't feel free, a relationship that I don't feel I could be myself because I'm not true to myself. So how do I break free from that? And that's what I've been working on my whole life. Go ahead, Scott. I know you have something.
Well, I was just saying, I think that would be one. I would love to hear each of you and myself share what a significant step in our evolution, because I know all three of you really well, and you all are very authentic now. So I think it would be kind of cool for each of us to share a breakthrough. It may have been the right friend or the right lover. It might have been, a practice, but would everybody like to share kind of how they took a step towards authenticity? Jessica?
Yes.
Going straight to you, so.
Yeah, sure. And I hope that my country internet is behaving tonight. Please let me know if it's not. It may be a little bit touchy. We've had issues this week. So, well, so, I would love to answer this question in relationship to clients because it's work that I've had to learn on my own as well. And so I think that the personal story is embedded in the gift that I really desire to give for others. I'm a really deep empath and intuitive. And so I have a really deep heart for serving that community. And what I really find is often, not always, but often, they're more on the anxious attaching side and more I work with a lot of people like Trish with codependence and, who are really trying to fulfill the other person's need first, kind of like what we're talking about, right? And I certainly have engaged in those behaviors, a lot in my life of wanting to, make people love me or show enough of myself so that I could create the love and support that I needed in my life. But what I really find the most powerful thing is helping people connect with their true self. Because I think that there's a way in which spiritually, emotionally, energetically, we can hold our own selves. Like whether it can be in a lot of different ways, but it's almost like we fill in ourself with ourself. And then when we're in that relationship, where we feel triggered or we feel unseen or we feel scared that those deep needs are not going to be met in that moment, we can have enough pause to say, oh, I remember who I am in this moment, and take a deep breath and do the brave, hard thing, which is just showing up in that vulnerability. And I can say, from my perspective, there's times when I'm really good at it, and there's times that I am not so good at it. And I am still always working. As we are, like, I don't think it's possible to be a really good coach or a really good therapist and not be deeply engaging in these conversations for ourselves, because the degree to which we meet our own pain, triggers, and limits in love and in life is the degree to which we can sit with other people in that healing. And so that's my experience of it, is like, wow, being an empath, it can be really, really uncomfortable to be like, or it used to be. Now, obviously, like I've created a different container, but especially growing up, to be in someone else's discomfort, especially when it's directed to me, I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna I don't want to risk that. So I think it is really some of the bravest work we can do is to stay present in our bodies when, the hard stuff comes up.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jessica. I love you so much.
I love you.
Let's hear from Trish, and then Michael has some cards that I want to see. But I'm going to go to you, Trish.
Where do I want to go here? Can you ask the question one more time?
Yeah, the question is, what is an example in your life, some breakthrough or relationship that helped you to really move into more authenticity in your relationships?
Got it. I'm going to speak kind of broadly about it, because there's a lot of different, I can go into one specific breakthrough, but I can also just start to, like, as I share, you can start to see the layers peel away. I was in a highly abusive relationship where we were mutually abusive. I was, fawning. I was totally manipulating reality. I was just not a loving partner, even though I was like giving all of myself and contorting. And I thought that that's what love was. And after I chose to leave the relationship, because at this point it had been years of this moment, I recognized that I was the more conscious one in this in this system, that I was like, oh gosh, I can't hurt him anymore. And I certainly can't hurt myself. And that moved me on the path of really utilizing the skills and the tools that I've developed, but also finding deep empathy and compassion for who I am. And I also started to see that normal is actually sort of a social abuse. Like, there is no such thing as normal. We all have really quirky, unique, beautiful aspects of ourselves that oftentimes we kind of shut down. And so in my practices, and in this is also what I teach my clients, is an opportunity to be with themselves, to really just take what they are and start to let the social programming drift away, or to let it dissolve as they start to find the quirky, cute little things that are really them. And how that, like, it impacts me now, like, just in general, is like, I'm a lot more honest, and I'm also a lot more take no shit. So it looks like this. There's people in my life like Scott and Jessica that I can be absolutely direct and honest with. I don't need to sugarcoat it. I mean, again, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to like come in, you know, guns blazing and like burn the house down. I'm going to come to my senses wherever that may be.
You're not cruel. You're not cruel. And
I'm
that,
not.
No.
and that's, I just want to say for a second, that is a beautiful thing about you, is you are very authentic and real, but you also are kind and you're not cruel.
Well, there's a difference between like radical abusive like honesty where you're like, this is my honesty and it's like painful, and then there's like, you know, building some skills around talking about what you need to talk about. But I realize the thing about that is like, do I really want people in my life that I have to play a facade? And that is one of the biggest things, is that I really want to invite people to show up in their full messy humanness. And I want to be there too, because I don't want to be perfect. I don't want to play that game anymore. It's exhausting and I'm just not good at it. And I don't want anyone else to have to play that game. So it's being, there's aspects of being really honest with yourself, being really compassionate, getting to know what your deep, honest desires are, and being like, wow, I am kind of weird. Like, I travel around with my cat and like sometimes I lay around on the couch TikToking for hours, and being really honest about that, being like, hey, can you love me there, Michael? Can you love me there, Scott? Like sometimes I just fuck off with time. And then there's some, like, I have bad habits. Oh my God. Everyone has bad habits. It's just like being able to own it and love each other in your humanness. Love ourselves in our humanness. There you go.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Trish, I love what you just said. It's so powerful. And I want to just piggyback on that, because I think giving up that image of needing to be perfect, right? Giving up that image of I need to have everything, all my ducks in a row, they say, is being able to, like, in my messiness, having somebody to love you in your messiness, that's what it's about. Knowing that I'm constantly evolving, but to have someone say, in your messiness, I still dig you. I still into you. I'm still feeling you. And I think that having the courage to say, you know what, I'd rather somebody love me in my messiness than to put forth this perfect image and have somebody love that image that is not me. Take a deep breath on that one. And Scott, you know, because I knew I created these cards and everything, and I created these cards for that very reason, called authentic connection. Because what I realized that I wasn't doing, I was saying what I thought people wanted to hear. And then people basically doing the same thing, saying things that they thought I wanted to hear. And then 5 years later, 3 years later, 2 years later, I'll find out, I wish I would have asked that person that question. Because I thought it's like going to the store, think you're going to buy an apple, but the apple looks like an orange or a lemon. And so when you get home, you expect to taste an apple, but you end up tasting a lemon or an orange. Like, it's not what I wanted. So a lot of times, you know, I'm selling apples when I'm a lemon. You know what I mean? And somebody think they're buying apples, till they realize, oh, this is not apple. I thought you were an apple. You know? No, I lied, because I know you like apples.
Michael, can I tell you something really funny?
Please jump in.
I have this thing, and it's a little crass, but hold with me here. So I date, because I'm single. I date as though I'm buying a used car. I also think that I'm a used car. So just hold on. There are nice used car, pre-owned, certified pre-owned, really nice. Just hold on. And so I have this game that I play called the Make or Break game. And it's also, can I scare you away? And they're really authentic, raw questions. I know, it's so silly. Like, I'm like, it looks a little like, so Jessica, what don't you want me to know about you?
Do you want me to answer that right now on
Yes, answer it.
Ridiculous habits that other people seem to be really annoyed by. I don't mind. And they'll be, you know, sometimes they'll share kind of vulnerably with me, and I'll be like, oh, that actually has no bearing in my life. Like, I went on a date recently who this guy was like, I'm kind of kinky. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. There's got to be red flags. I want you to know that there are some quirky things that I do. I just want you to know. And so that it also has this cool thing where it builds intimacy immediately. And it also gives us an opportunity to really sit back and think about if those things are something that we want to invest our time, energy, and even friendship in. It has saved me so much time. It has saved them so much time.
Tish, so you are doing the thing, the very card that I created. I don't know if you can see it. I think the connection. Matter of fact, let's everybody just play real quick. I like the audience to play in this one. All right, if you have a partner there with you or whatever, but this is the question: which two of the followings are you least concerned about in a potential relationship? We'll read that again. Again, I got a question. Which two of the followings are you least concerned about in a potential relationship? Their appearance, their intellect, their finances, their spirituality. Which two are you least concerned with? Their appearance, their intellect, their finances, their spirituality.
God, I have to be honest. Maybe this is why I'm single and not even dating. All four. I mean, really, all four are important to me. I would not be able to let go of any of those four necessities for a partner. So
if you had to, you had to give up two. You just had to give up two. Which two would you give?
Well, finances would be the least important.
Okay.
But boy, appearance is important to me. Spirituality is very important to me, and intelligence is important to me. I just, oh God. I mean, if I have to pick one, I can't do it. I can't do it, Michael.
But you had to. You got to pick two. So, I mean, if you could. Now, don't force yourself. You can only. So you said, but at least you picked one. What's that? Finances was the one that you say I could do without.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. We're not going to force you because I think that's being authentic. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I want you to be authentic.
I'm being authentic.
Jessica, what about you?
So I actually feel very similarly, Scott, that I don't want to sacrifice any of those things. And I feel like there are it doesn't have to be a 10 on all the scales, but you have to meet minimum requirements. That's how I like dating. Like, just, you got to meet the minimum requirements in certain areas. But I think that I'm less concerned, I would say, with finances and appearances because, well, intellect and spirituality are deeply important to me. And I would say that, but living with spirituality and intellect alone would be challenging. There's two huge needs that may or may not be met there, and those are important to me. So I'm with you, Scott. There's a perfect answer there.
Okay. I see that Dyer in our Zoom room also says that she agrees that all four are really important. So, Trish, what would your answer be?
Well, beauty standards are just particularly social constructs. So that's out. And then finances, if I have to choose. I have dated some, finances are not even on the. I'm like, where am I going there? I have also not dated for beauty either, but intellectuality, those are non-negotiables. Another one that I would like to add is growth, like personal and relational growth is literally my purpose in relationships. So if you're not into that, we're not going to get along. That's my red flag.
And we are getting some responses from our friends in the Zoom room. Kathy writes, intellect and spirituality first, but financial is also important at this age. It was different when I was younger. Appearance is great, but it's not the most important. So in other words, she would give up appearance, but she really needs intellect, spirituality, and finances.
Amazing.
Michael, I really like these cards a lot. I mean, so far,
Thank
obviously,
you.
like we've only just done, but I love just sitting with friends that I've known for a long time and asking deep questions, because it really just offers the opportunity to get, it's like there's a way in which I think when we have known people for a long time, it's almost like, well, and I think this happens, of course this happens in relationships as well. It's almost like we take them for granted and we think that we know, and just asking these deeper questions gives an opportunity to be curious in a really specific way that maybe my curiosity would not come up with in the moment. So I just want to appreciate that for a minute here. I love this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I wrote these questions, but I didn't have the answers either. I'm like, oh my goodness. I went back and forth because I play with them so much. I got a chance to sort of look like, well, to look at them as say, you know, what's important? My definitely spirituality is important. But when I think of a spirituality, and appearance is very important too, because but at the same time, I remember meeting someone once, a young lady years ago. Appearances wasn't like what I wanted, but that inner beauty blew me freaking away. I'm like, oh my God, she became the most beautiful person in the world because it was something in her that I started seeing differently. I don't know if I can explain it, but a transformation happened right in front of my face because my thought, my idea of beauty became something else that I didn't know exists. So I was able to say intellect and spirituality, but I realized from that point, because first it was intellect and spirituality, but I realized from the point that when somebody spirituality mean that you're open, that you are conscious, that you are constantly growing as a spiritual being, which I think is the authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can tap into the authentic self, which is the spiritual you, and you're being your spiritual self, I think that alone is gonna bring about certain things that intellect, which is cool, but you're gonna be communicating on another level. Go ahead, Trish.
So I do want to say, I want to like there's a distinction that I'm, as you were speaking, I was like, oh crap, like this is the distinction for me. From growing up really, really poor and having like a subpar education, as much as I actually, when I heard the question, it wasn't that kind of intellect, that it's emotional intelligence or the of oneself or the like that. And that's for me, because not everyone is going to be Harvard educated. I'm not. Like like not everyone will be able to utilize like a lexicon that's large and like I've dated really, really intelligent people before, and people who have gone to like incredibly, like Columbia and like incredible schools. And I'm like, sometimes it makes me feel a little inferior because I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had the resources or the time or even the energy to step into that, because there's survival things. So I totally understand the financial piece too, is like, oh gosh, if my person was like a monk, I'd be like, oh gosh, this is hard, and we're all the finances fall on me, because there's things that need to be done to live in a world that's capitalistic.
That's
what I wanted to say.
That's powerful. That's powerful, because as you were speaking, I realized that even though we use the word like intellect, finance, and spirituality and appearance, but each one of us have an idea of what that looks like.
Yes.
It's not the person, it's my interpretation of these qualities that I'm judging. It has nothing to do with the person. It's me.
Good.
Now we're going deep now. Come on, Jessica.
Well, okay. So yes, I 100% agree. I mean, I think that any follow-up question for any of these would be, how do you define this and what's your relationship to it? But then, we never go on to the next card. So
yeah, right.
One thought that I have that is sort of a side note, because this has come up for me a couple of times as we've been chatting, is I think that there's a distinction, and both both you and Trish, you both have kind of touched on this, but there's a distinction between real authenticity and how what Michael, you described as spirituality or that deeper connection to self, Jessica language. And what I think sometimes people perceive authenticity to be, which is just kind of being, am I allowed to cuss on this one, on this show?
Yes.
You have
Okay,
my
which
permission.
is just
It's
kind of
called
being a
straight talk.
dick. Yeah, okay. It's just kind of being a dick. It's like you're shooting from the hip and like, you should make room for me because I have an opinion about this and my needs matter more than yours. So I think that like, it's important since we're to say like, well, what is authenticity? Because to me, authenticity is coming from a deep place inside that is also kind, that is also in tune, that's also connected. But I think that other versions of reality might mean that people are authentic from a different place.
Right.
So yeah, what do you guys, I don't know if that's helpful.
So Jessica,
in this
what
case,
is
but yeah.
authenticity to you? What is
Oh.
somebody's being authentic? What's the authentic connection? What is that to you when you say, I want somebody who's authentic? I mean, what does that mean to you? That they're what?
Well, I mean, so I come from a somatic, that's a lot of the work that I do. Feeling myself in my body and being present with me and then sharing. See, even as I just said this, right? Because I'm thinking about it, I just like sat up in my seat and I kind of like shook off a little bit and I kind of felt my energy come up and expand. And then I can feel where it comes from in my body. You might not be able to see my hands, but it's like the me is here. And I can speak a truth to you from that place. So something that might look inauthentic for me, maybe I'm a little bit nervous and maybe I want someone to really like me. And maybe it's even about a client because sometimes that comes up, I like really have a connection with a client and I really want them to choose services and I really would love to serve them. And I feel like, oh my God, like I could help. Yes. And so I get a little bit revved up, right? I get a little bit revved up and then I like talk a little bit too fast, not centered. And so they can feel that shift because really like the deepest gift that we are is sharing our presence. That's my gift. Like that's what I might have tools that I can use within that. But the deepest gift I can give another person is my presence and my attunement with them. I can create a safe space for them to be them in their body. And I think that sums up what authenticity is for me. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
I want you to draw another card.
Okay.
Let's
right,
play another one.
I got an easy one. Here's an easy one. It says, is it easier for you to share your heart or your body with someone you just started to date?
Well,
There you go, Scott. Your question's on you. Is it
that
easier
was
for you to
pretty
share
easy.
your heart
I've
or
got
your
to
body
show.
with someone you just
Yeah, for me, it's got to be heart.
So it's easier to share your heart
Oh yeah.
than your body.
That's
why?
I think
Explain
my
why.
heart is
Explain
much
why.
more attractive than my body.
That's why.
So.
Which is easiest? And explain why though.
Well, honestly, because I think that's my strength. I'm a compassionate guy. I don't think anybody's ever chosen me for my looks. I'm not ugly, but people don't choose me for my looks. They choose me I'm a compassionate, loving guy. So, that's kind of a no-brainer one for me.
Let me read this one more time. Is it easier for you to share your heart or your body with someone you just started to date?
It's easier to share my heart.
It's easier to share your heart than to share your body with someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Tish.
Years ago, it was my body. But I've gotten I've become significantly more protective of sharing that energy with people. There's got to be a third part of that. There's something missing. again, it's like that piece of the way that I date, the make or break game. That's pretty heartfelt. That's really like, that's raw authenticity served on a platter. Like it literally is that. And so I think that's sharing my heart. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I mean, I do know, again, beauty standards are a social construct. This body is the collagen and the telomeres are going to deteriorate. It's just going to happen. It's not this thing like I would rather, be really focused on building deep connection with people that I'm even like thinking of as a potential. I don't really go into relationships or like dating like that. It's more like, can I just be around this person? Can we relate and connect? Are we on the same vibe? Do we share similar values? Can we create community together? Like, are they cool enough, or am I cool enough to integrate our friends? Like that's the body, again, I'm like, if I really wanted to think about the body, I'd be like, in 50 years when you get the grandma hanging, I love you there. Like, that's what I think about it. It's like when you get turkey neck and your things in your ears. And I'm like, can I love you there? Yes, I can, because that doesn't actually matter. There you go.
Thank you.
So
Jessica.
I actually feel that it is, for me, it's easier to share my body than it is my heart. And I will say, as a caveat though, if my heart isn't invested in the moment, if I'm not present with myself, I will never share. But I feel that, at least for my personality, there is an unwinding that happens as I begin to trust someone. And so I will gauge depth of connection to depth of connection. I will open and trust as time goes on. So that deep level of like my deep, vulnerable heart, that takes time, and trust for me worth it. Because I think that that's the most sacred part of myself.
Jessica, I'm with you on that. I feel the same way. It's easier for me to share my body than my heart. The risk factor is less when I share my body. My heart, whew, it's about trust for me. If to share my heart, it's about, do I feel safe around you? It's so much come with sharing my heart. Matter of fact, I know a lot of people feel the same way. So yeah, I agree with you. It's easier for me to share my body than my heart. And it's interesting. Sometimes we think once we get the body that the heart comes with it, but not necessarily.
No,
I want to read a couple of comments from our wonderful people that are in our Zoom room.
Please.
Welcome, Matthew Baker. Matthew's a new friend who is actually going to be doing a lot of work with us. So welcome, Matthew. Steve Sarsfield writes, authenticity is not your opinion, it's your emotion. That's interesting. Authenticity is not your opinion, it's your emotion. Matthew writes, authenticity is a mindset and a value and a way of being. And Kathy writes, I'm a grandmother, but people think I'm my son's age. It's all how you take care of yourself and what you believe. Right on, Kathy. Absolutely.
That was in response to my telomeres.
Probably. Yeah, Kathy wrote, yes, it was.
We all have different genetics, and it is about taking care, and we all have different genetics.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, now I'm like all proclaimed about it. It's like my grandma, when I was little, she was my great grandma, and she was really, really old. She was like 88, and I would sit on her lap and her little like hangy arm skin, and I would play with it and smooth it out.
Oh, wow.
Love it. I would delight in her skin. I was like, I love you so much. This is so great. It's just like they're random. So sorry, but
That
That's
is really sweet. I
That
love that
is.
so much.
Yeah. When I
Yeah.
become a grandpa, I want somebody to treat my body like that. Oh, grandpa, look at this stuff hanging. It's so amazing, you know? That's
Right.
that's real love right there, you know? Thank you. Thank you for sharing it, Trish.
Well, also, and a child hasn't been trained as to what's sexy and what's not.
Right.
You know, we live in a really crazy culture that has taught us that sexy is an anorexic teenage girl,
Mm-hmm.
right? And 100 years ago, that was like the exact opposite of sexy. 100 years ago, round and good for, making babies was considered beauty in a woman, And you take a look at just art of women through the centuries, and the idea of beauty just keeps changing. And then the culture then adapts to it. Matthew Wright wrote something cool. He wrote, for me, it's sequential leapfrogging type of a dynamic. Perhaps originally, I probably start by sharing my heart first, but really depends on the circumstances I find myself in and the person I'm with and the energy that exists between us. As time goes by, I share parts of my body and parts of my heart and so on and so forth as I feel comfortable and build trust. Yeah, that's a wise pathway.
you know where my brain just went. I was like, what's really intimate and authentic is sharing your attachment wounds. That's what just like rolled through my head. I'm like deep in attachment theory, so sorry, y'all.
There was a great meme.
Oh, that's
There was a
great.
great meme making the rounds just recently. It said dating in the 50s, and you see two people having milkshakes, right? And then now it's like dating now, and they're watching a TED talk on attachment theory.
Yep.
That's how your attachment style was created. Like what kind of experiences in your childhood? How would you like to move through that with me?
Dia has a question for us, and I appreciate that. Dia is asking, kindly give an example of sharing heart that could be scary or that is so scary. Michael, that's probably a good one for you.
I mean, the question is again, one more time.
Give an example of how sharing heart could be scary.
Oh yeah, that could be scary for me because I identify myself as my heart. So if I share it and then you reject it, if I'm not grounded or rooted in something greater than myself and think that I'm being rejected or I'm less than, then yeah, that could be scary because by me sharing my heart and you frown on it or something. And I guess it depends on my spiritual work that I've done. But if I'm pretty new at it, that could be devastating. And but the good thing about it is that by sharing my heart and you don't appreciate it, at least I don't end up with you by not sharing it.
Mm.
At least I end up with someone who appreciate my heart.
Yes.
And that is worth it. You know what I mean? It's worth it. In the end, it's worth it. Even though it's scary, but in the end, it's worth it. Anybody want to answer that?
Yeah. So, like earlier in my youth, people would reject me on really interesting things. So I was really quick to offer my body. And I would hope that something would come from that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wanted to protect my heart. I wanted to protect and move slow. I wanted to move slow, and what happened is like multiple times people would lay really intense judgments on me where I was being really like present and there, and they would share things like, I was like, well, would you like to take this further? Would you like to go on some dates? Would you like to get to know me more individually, like really deeper? They're like, not really. I was like, oh, I've heard things like, you don't have a boyfriend because you don't take good care of your body.
Mm.
What does that mean? Because I weighed a little bit more than the social standard. I don't know. It was so I understand wanting to protect your heart and that's, however you answer that, your boundaries are your boundaries. Like, you get to create the place of protection for you and manage your proximity. It's not like, you don't have to go out the gate and be like, I just want you to know, like, Michael, I just want you to know that I have CPTSD and sometimes I have fucking meltdowns, and then they kind of look like this, but I can speak through it. And sometimes people are like, I'm like, oh, great. That was easy. Bye. Say self-selecting out. But that's me. The more intimate place is my body. And it sounds like for Scott too, the more intimate place is. And it's, we all have differences in how we share, or who we share, and what we share. And I think that that's what makes it so delightfully authentic and human, you know? So I respect you all for choosing your boundaries and for protecting yourself and keeping yourself at, like, in your priorities. That's fucking sexy.
Matthew writes, discussing attachment wound and abandonment wound and unworthiness wound is pretty deep, intimate stuff.
Yeah,
I've actually found myself discussing some of those on the first date a couple of times. It feels pretty risky, but I think it's really cool because I know for myself, I would only be interested in dating somebody that we do talk about those things, because that, again, that's intimacy. It's emotional intimacy, and it's and that's really exciting to me, to be able to talk honestly and self-reflect and share about our stuff and where we are in our journey of life, where we are in our journey of relationship, you know, because obviously what we're looking for when we're, 15 is very different than what we're looking for as we get older, right? As Trish just described. So,
Can I ask you a question, Michael?
Please do.
I'm going to pull my own card.
There you go. Pull that card out, girl.
For everyone. I was going to, I'm like 2 or 3. Pick 2 or 3, the number 2 or 3.
3.
Okay, great. This is the one I wanted. What are your 3 top red flags in starting a relationship?
Oh, that's a good one. It's funny. It's one of my questions in my cards. I think one red flag is first thing I want to say is the red flag is, you know what? I think someone who judge a lot. If I see them like really critical and stuff, another red flag is that no sense of humor. It's like, oh God, the next red flag is, did I say complaint? I did already complain, and okay, I did that one already, right?
You want to double that one? You want to like
double that, right? That's very important.
Power of.
I realize that sometimes that's negative self-talk or that complaining is a lower vibration energy, and so that's a red flag for me. And judging others, which is still, I think, red flag. So yeah, those are the 2 I can think of at this moment. It's something I think if I see somebody drinking or smoking a lot, that's a red flag for me. There you go. What about you?
Well, I'm going to pass it to everyone else first.
All right, go ahead.
I think Michael nailed it. I mean, what a person says is definitely a red flag. If they are judgmental, critical, really locked into dogma and belief systems, and this is the way, this is the truth. It's actually the last significant person that I dated. Actually, we stopped dating 2 years ago. We had fantastic, honestly, the best sexual chemistry of my life. And she was great in many ways, but she was very judgmental. And I really, I found myself getting really turned off by that. And so, yeah, that's I think a big red flag that you nailed. So yeah, variations. So just that, complaining, judgment, and because there's 3 red flags, and someone who's really stuck in a belief system or stuck in a dogma.
Yeah, for me, I think it's hard to It's hard to nail it down to three but I think that one of the biggest ones that kind of covers a lot is discrepancies. So discrepancies in what they say, what they do, discrepancies or like little lies to me are a big deal. It's a big, big deal because again, like truth to me, along with what Trish was saying earlier around gaslighting and things like this, there are that is just so important for me is someone to have congruency with their words and their actions. And I would say, honestly, like my second one is kindness, but it's not just kindness, it's also kindness in anger or kindness in disagreement. That's just like it's invaluable. It's invaluable. It's so challenging to create a successful relationship with someone who doesn't have the same anger style or who has a more explosive anger style than I feel that most relationships that are healthy, we should be able to meet in a kind way, even in disagreements. That's something that's really important to me. The other one is kind of surprising, but it's a sense of generosity, and I think that that goes with finances. It goes with benefit of the doubt. It goes with sort of like emotional generosity. There's a openness in giving and receiving, and for me that just like opens the doorway. It feels safe and fun and and able to give freely. So I would say those are my big ones. I mean, substance abuse is another one, Michael, which I was like, yes, of course. Oh my God, that's such a huge red flag. However, I think even more than that, the other three, not that I'm not choosing substance abuse, but so yeah, that's me.
How about you, Michael? Or no, Trish.
Yeah, Trish.
Trish asked the question.
Well, beyond the like any sort of violence, like we can just chalk that off. Like everyone is like, we're not gonna just. You know what? I really want a violent partner. That's the next one. No, just cancel. Is unwillingness to acknowledge impact or unwillingness to negotiate relationships. So I'm not really into apologies, to be really honest, because I believe that apologies are for the person apologizing more than they are for the person receiving. But acknowledgement of impact is like, there's a couple places there around like owning how your behavior or your actions touched another person, and really empathizing there is literally a crucial part of relationship for me. And the negotiating reality, I mean, like, so if you're like, Michael and I get into a fight and you left the dish on the counter or some whatever, or I left the dish, it doesn't really matter, right? And if either of us were unwilling to acknowledge the impact and then negotiate how we could like actively choose to sort of like move reality in a way that suits us both, like that just shows me that you're not in it. I'm like, oh, you're not in it here. You're doing your own relational thing. Like you just want to be you, but you're not interested in being in participatory relationship. Like, bye, that's cool. I'm done. And in line with that is like avoidance. So people who just ghosting, check out, like people who are non-communicative, people who don't know enough about themselves to just share where they're at. Like I'm out. I can't work with that. Gosh, I do love to like develop and create. I'm like, ooh, community. Do you want to like lean on each other and, can we smooth out all the edges? Like, I love that. Oh, it just like does it for me. And the other one goes back to the thing that I shared before is my one of my top values is that if you're not actively working on yourself, you know, if you're not actively looking at some of the places or the harms that you're causing or that you have, like if you're not doing that, we're probably not going to get along, because the person I am kind of like, I'm constantly doing that work. I'm ready to like dissolve that and really heal the ancestral lineage and move forward in a better reality for us all. That changes with me, right? And my clients. And if other persons are not interested in that, then I'm like, how are we going to relate? I'm going to ask you some really weird questions. I'm going to kind of be intense and ask you those things. And we're going to lay in bed talking about who knows. So those are my red flags. Like unwillingness is really the theme, I guess.
Powerful.
Or, you know, and just because Scott is Scott, and this is for you, is like, it's the incapability or unwillingness.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people just don't know what they don't know, and they're not necessarily unwilling. They're just not aware or capable of doing those things. And it's not like those people are out of my, it's, again, willingness. Are they like, okay, I don't know anything about that. Do you want to go to a workshop? Do you want to talk to, hey, maybe we can call Michael. Do you want to get those cards? Can you talk to Jessica and do brain spotting? Like that active creation of a new reality.
Yeah.
That really turns me on.
Wow. Wow.
I want to read some of the comments
It's
from
amazing.
our
Me too.
wonderful.
Wow.
I want to read some of the comments from our people in the Zoom room. Matthew lists, these are the things, red flags: judgmental nature, lack of curiosity, poor treatment of others, lack of compassion, distance, aloofness, lack of comfort with connection, and addiction to news and television. There's one that we haven't mentioned yet. And then Kathy writes, exactly, you can't relate to someone who isn't in that place. And Dyer writes, in over 65 years of relationships with males, I shared heart with those wonderful beings with who I was not sexual. When involved intimately physically, that precious component was a tad pale. I am now at 76 ready for emotional, spiritual, physical intimacy, as well as intellectual. Namaste. Right on. All right, Dia.
And so it is. We're calling it in right now.
Absolutely. It's on its way.
If we're gonna make magic, we might as well.
Yeah. And Kathy writes that personal growth is critical. Absolutely, Kathy. All right. Michael, I think we have time for one more card, and then we've got to let Trisha go because she's got to drive another 2.5 hours to make it to her mother's house tonight.
Okay. Well,
4 more hours.
We'll give this to some of the people who's listening. This question right here I found that was very challenging. It said, what are 2 areas of your life that needs improvement? And the reason I said it's a difficult question, because that means what Trish was saying is that means you got to be able to reflect on yourself. What are 2 areas of your life that needs improvement? Who want to go? Everybody write your answer in the chat.
I'll go first.
Go ahead. You've
Definitely
done some work. You've done work, though.
Definitely need more physical exercise. I need to take better care of my body in terms of physical exercise and just taking more time off, more time in nature. I'm spending too much time in front of a computer screen like right now. So that would be me.
All right. So let's say you're going on a date, and the girl that you like, the person that you like, you want to impress them. Would you tell them that?
I just did. I'm in love with Trish and I'm in love with Jessica. So,
so there's nothing else that you would need improvement on that you might be a little more hesitant to share. Yeah, I know. I did, right? He picked it too. Physical and, okay, I'm with it. All right, Trish. Trish, you want to go next? 2 areas of your life that need improvement.
Well, things that I'm actively working on are building more financial security. Oh, I don't know how to share this piece. Is like I recently took this anti-oppression course, and I'm feeling a little untethered. So I want to work on being more grounded. That means that I need to get a mentor, and that's, I'm actively looking for a mentor to help me really look at some angles in my life that might be blind spots and I just don't know, especially in my work and in the way that I walk in the world. And then the third one, I'll just give you three.
Please do.
The level of fear that I run, again, the attachment style stuff is really up for me, and I'm seeing there's a level of anxiousness that I run a lot of the time, and I'm actively working on that. I'm finding some, what I'm finding is some clarity in my language, like, oh, I'm anxious, stop. Like I'm able to like talk to it more and give people the understanding of where I'm at. Like I can start to hear it and feel it like here. So those are things that I'm actively working on. The things that...
Beautiful. Thank you. Jessica.
Well, I am excited about the things that I need to work on. So creativity is a big one for me because, and I've been talking about it for ages. So I need to actually just take some action. And like, I checked out an art collective recently for a pottery course, but I really want to start being more creative around other people soon. And then playtime in the community. I just want more play. Like I love it. It's so fun. And I moved to a new place like a year ago, and I'm just, I'm just touching my toe in the water because COVID, all of the things, but it's like so fun. And I want to do more of it. I love it. And then I have three. So my other one, but this is like a lesser one because it's not like something that would be all of the time, but traveling. I think I need to take more risk with travel. There's a way in which I sort of like forget that life outside exists because I really love what I do. And I have a very satisfying home life. However, I need to be out in the world. So those are the things. They're actually all fun things, which I kind of love. So
I can offer you fun and travel if you want to meet in Portland.
Oh, okay.
Roughly on the 7th or the 8th, and we can drive to a bunch of hot springs because that's what's going to happen with the cat. I'm just saying, opportunities arise.
I'm feeling it. And Scott asked me to come up and visit as well. And so there's definitely meditating on it this weekend. This is going to happen. I'm going to look at the calendar. I'm going to look at the finances, going to sit with it, going to feel what's real, and then going to say yes to something.
So you call it in, and then the universe just drops you a bunch of like awesome options.
I love it. I'm in.
Once again, I want to read some of the comments from our audience. Kathy writes, self-love and letting go of painful issues from my immediate family. More forgiveness. That's very authentic. Thank you. Matthew Baker writes, I need less time isolated and I need more real sex. That's also very honest. Dyer writes, being able to express when it is not nice. I'm a Libra, wink, wink. Holding back when there is discomfort. Mark writes, and this is really nice. I like what everybody wrote, but this is cool. Mark writes, I'm always amazed by the synchronicity of the subjects on this show. It's almost like we gather here weekly to prepare the programming of the archetypal collective consciousness. Yeah. Thank you for gracefully easing into this vital mission. I have a lot to think about and feel about after this enlightening and challenging session. Thank you, Mark. That like made my night. That was very cool.
So just to say that if you want more self-love, there's a free also online experience called the Self-Love Show that I host every Thursday morning. And next week we have Manisha Ramdin on, and her work is really powerful. Her personal story is amazing. Like through her traumas and carrying a lot of weight through those traumas, as well as moving through and having amazing children and just like transforming her whole life and her perspective, and like show up next Thursday. She's amazing. And as a Libra as well, I just wanted to like, there are ways to be lovingly, honestly direct. And if you want, you can just, reach out, call me or DM me on Facebook.
Great. And people, I guess we'll start learning about where people can find things. Michael, how do people get the cards?
Hey, you can go to Etsy. I'm gonna put in the link in the chat. Okay, it's go to Etsy. It's called Authentic Connection Cards. I think that it should pop up. Hopefully, maybe it won't. I see a lot of numbers and
I
stuff.
see a heck of a lot of
Me
words.
too. So maybe that doesn't work, but go to Etsy and it's called Authentic Connection Cards.
Authentic connection cards. Okay.
Yes. You want to write that in the thing? You can do it.
Yeah, I'll put that in there.
Okay.
And Trish, I know you're traveling, but are you taking new clients? If people are interested in getting coached by you, getting support from you, what do they do?
I am. You can pull me up on the website, or you can just share out the self-love show too.
Okay. All right. And I want to put in a pitch for my dear friend Jessica. She is honestly someone I've gone to for coaching. She does incredible brain spotting work, and her, we were talking about presence. Oh my gosh, Jessica can just drop into the most beautiful, deep presence. And so highly recommend if you've got like a significant issue that you're really ready to tackle and you want the right support that's nurturing and very helpful, go to Jessica. And Jessica, how do people find you? Oh, I did this wonderful introduction of Jessica, and of course she's frozen.
She's frozen.
You gotta love it. I love Zoom.
This is great.
Nope, we can hear you though, I think.
Well, can you show our website?
Yes. What's the website again?
I don't. Oh, just.
I think I froze a little bit. So people can find me. I just put it in the chat, but it's just my name.com. So it's really easy, and there's free consultations that you can even sign up for online. And thank you so much, Scott, for your beautiful support of the gift that I love to give. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, you're really, really good at it, dear. Really good at it. And I'm pulling these up, and I will show these websites. Trish is at embodiedhappiness.com. So here is Jessica's website. And again, it's her name, and it's spelled Jessica Osterday, Osterday, Jessica Osterday. Very easy to book a consultation there. I love that photo.
Nice.
And then our dear Trish is at embodied dash, got to remember the dash, embodiedhappiness.com. And here's what that looks like. She really is wonderful. Trish is great at teaching radical self-acceptance. Isn't radical self-acceptance the end result of authenticity? Like that's like authenticity to the max is radical self-acceptance. The two are bedmates. They go together beautifully.
It's a pretty radical move to love yourself.
Yeah.
Actually change the world through self appreciation and resilience and reliance and responsibility.
And if anybody wants to reach Michael, if it's hard to get, find his cards, you can send me a private message and I'll connect you with Michael. I'm happy to do that. You can private message me on Facebook. Or if there's another way that people can reach you, Michael.
They can get in touch with you right now till if they can't reach me through Etsy. And this is what the box looks like, if you can see it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So just in case you get confused, but look under Michael Dyer, Etsy, and you can find the cards. And there you go. Call.
Well, I'm going to get some. I'm
All right.
excited.
Cool.
Sounds like date ideas.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. And speaking of watching, I want to really encourage people to come tomorrow night to Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe. We are celebrating our first 18 months. And so it's going to be like an online party. We've got a lot of our favorite people who are going to drop in and visit with us. It's going to be really, really sweet. And register, and then you can come at actually 5:30. Come on into the early Zoom room show, which is just for our loyal friends and fans. And that's tomorrow night. And it's going to be a really wonderful show. And we're also going to show some of our favorite moments from the past. And we have live music with Cornflower, who is one of our favorite musicians, and also Joanna Oneheart. And then on my Sacred Sunday show this Sunday, Reverend Fajoon, many of you might have watched last week, I had Maria Stark on, and Maria's beloved of the last 5 years is Fajoon. And he has a church and a congregation, and he has created called Zen VC. It's a combination of Zen and nonviolent communication, Zen VC. Meditative insights applied to better relationships. So definitely join us on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, as we go deep with Reverend Fajoon and myself. And thank you. I'll go to gallery view so you can see all of us one last time. Love all three of you so much. And this went by quickly. Trish, I'm blessing you that you have a safe and plenty of energy for your drive up to see your mama.
Actually 4 hours. So yes,
4 hours. Oh my gosh.
I'm good. I'm all like wired now.
Yeah, we're with you in spirit.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you for inspiring tonight's show with your cards.
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun.
And
It is so much fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, and there's a lot of messages that have come in. So I am going to briefly, okay, there are messages from Trish and everybody how to find her. That's good.
Find the cards.
Great. And we're looking for the cards. Yeah, you can put your email in the chat box. I'll hang on for another minute and then I will add you. Dia wants to attend your Thursday morning self-love show. So that is, you can find, by the way, all of our shows on Love Coach Academy. If you go to the Love Coach Academy page, you can find all the past replays of all of our shows. And you can also see what's coming up. And you can actually watch on Facebook. Anything else about the self-love show? Or we've lost Trish to Winston. He's a great traveling partner.
Look at that bow tie. Give me a break.
I know.
He's not a good co-pilot. He slept all day. I was like, where am I supposed to turn? And he went, oh.
Great travel partner. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Much love.
Love you.
God's blessings. And we'll see all of you soon. Take care.
Peace.